Thanks for joining us in our exotic ghost room or
I wouldn't
something.
call it exotic.
I don't know. I was
Spooky.
looking for a word.
Thanks for joining us for today's feature wine tasting. We're tasting in our ghost room at the Cellar Wine Store. This is actually one of our event spaces. And the wine that we're featuring today was featured in our online newsletter, which you can join at cellarwinestore.com. Every week we feature a selection of really awesome wines at great feature prices. So the wine that we're tasting today comes from the Napa Valley. It's called Girard. And wines from the Napa Valley typically have a pretty high price tag these days. Reason being supply and demand. There's not a huge amount of vineyards in the Napa Valley and the demand is really high. The grapes for this wine come from a variety of different vineyards all over the Napa Valley. So it's a combination of mountain fruit and valley fruit. And the reason why that's a talking point is because the valley fruit makes up the bulk of the wine. It gives it plushness, it gives it fruitiness, and then the mountain fruit gives it a lot more muscle. So in the mountains, the higher altitude that you get, the growing conditions become a little bit tougher for the vines. So it results in the vines being stressed, and that increases the concentration and complexity of the grapes. Cabernet Sauvignon is a cross between Cabernet Franc and Sauvignon Blanc. The character of Cabernet Sauvignon is a very dark, muscular wine. It has flavors and aromas of graphite, of black plum, of dark fruit. When I'm tasting Cabernet Sauvignon, if I'm doing it in a blind tasting, I know it's Cabernet Sauvignon because of that graphite or that pencil lead aroma. So we're going to taste the Girard. I'll taste along with you if you managed to pick up some of this wine on our last feature. If you didn't though, don't worry, it's not too late. We're out of stock at the moment, but it'll be back in stock on Thursday if you haven't already picked some up. Label out. So ideally when we're tasting, we want to do it in a well-lit room. If you're doing a really technical wine tasting, that would definitely ruin our ambience in this room. A lot less spooky if it's well lit. So fairly light actually in color compared to a lot of Cabernet Sauvignons that come from Napa Valley. So we'll see what the concentration is like on the nose and on the palate. Definitely has Cabernet Sauvignon characteristics. But it's worth mentioning also that this is 88% Cabernet Sauvignon, 7% Merlot, 3% Petit Verdot, and 2% Cabernet Franc. In California, you can label a wine with its dominant grape varietal as long as it's over 75%. Oh, it's really opening up. So this is the wine that I would recommend to put in a decanter for a little while to let it breathe. 2017 vintage, isn't that long ago, so it's still fairly youthful. The tannins are definitely very forward right now. So if you're not going to lay this wine down for a little while to age, for the tannins to kind of mellow out, I would definitely let it decant for about an hour. And the first impression that I get based on the palate speaks to where the grapes come from. So some of the grapes for this wine come from a subregion of the Napa Valley called Rutherford. And Rutherford is famous for its Rutherford dust. Rutherford dust is very soft soil, and it attributes flavors of mocha. So there's definitely mocha flavors in this Cabernet Sauvignon. It's very lively, lots of bright red fruit. I think the balance is really nice in this wine, and I think that you can't really beat the price for Napa Valley Appellation wine. This is up there as far as value goes. So if you didn't pick this wine up, like I said, it's available at cellarwinestore.com. Girard Cabernet Sauvignon. Thank you for tasting.